Hey everyone, I want to make another video about depression, kind of the common myths out there surrounding depression. Is it structural? Is it biological? What do we think is going on? Why your belief systems, your conditional life acceptance, your rigid demands, which I will talk about with the book right here, are fueling the majority of your depression, even when there is a biological structural origin. Do medications help? We're not here to consult on medications. Always speak to your provider. But what we see from the coaching perspective, I see a lot of people who continue down depression, understandably so, even on depression medications because their beliefs are still quite rigid. So before I go any further, please subscribe, hit that like button down below. Depression is something I struggled with severely. So if you are struggling, please reach out. Phil at OCDrecovery.com and get you access to our WhatsApp groups, which is it's the funnest community out there. We had a female come in today. She was from an area of the world, different language, and I tried to say hello to her when she was in the groups with a language translation. We just get a lot of laughs and it's a lot of seriousness. There are hours of content that goes in there that you won't get on the TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, so it's very specific. So the majority of depression, the majority is coming from rigid beliefs, and once your brain locks on to the sensation of loss of interest, decreased mood, and it latches onto that, boom, the cycle just snowballs from there. It's either and there's so many angles of this. I'm going to just talk about depression as a whole, because I could make a whole other 2-hour video on the depression of the societal standards of what if I get depressed, lose control, harm myself, and all that side of it. I'm just talking about depression in the living form, suffering, loss of interest, not how it interjects with your relationship, not how it interjects with your stuff at work, just a basic overview of the belief systems. Now, where do physiologic and biological components play more than likely a larger factor? Postpartum depression and concussions. Those are the only two, usually. Head injuries, serious stuff like that. So, yes, severe PTSD, they call it complex PTSD, and OCD and GAD and panic. Yes, there is a structural origin that sets the genetics off. But what fuels it, that's the train. What fuels the train forward for 99% of depression cases is belief systems. How do I know this? Because I work with hundreds, if not thousands of people who have come out the other side, whether they've had serious things happen to them in their lives or not. So my depression was caused from beliefs I held about my OCD. If I can't recover, life isn't worth living. I don't have any interest for anything. And once you have a loss of interest sensation, as I said before, and your brain latches onto that, game over. It runs with that, just like an IBS symptom, just like a pain symptom, and it's going to feel as real as it can get. You can jump around from forum to Reddit to doctor here and there. Again, if you want to take medications, antidepressants, SSRIs, always speak to your doctor. It could certainly help relieve some of the symptoms, but what we tend to see is the belief tends to stick around if it's not worked on. So this is a very important thing to think about when you're going through OCD and anxiety recovery or just depression. You hear people try to distinguish, major depressive disorder, MDD, is it OCD? You're going down the line to saying, what's this, what's that? None of that matters. What matters is, what's my belief, whether it's real or not? What are my behaviors contributing to this? And how can I move forward? That doesn't mean you're going to get away from the sensations, but you could still act in a way behaviorally where you're living your life. Now, I want to use one of the examples, the one I always like to use, 70-71, and I'm going to go through how this looks practically from a behavioral standpoint. The goal. My goal is to accept my depression sensations and the loss of interest, that I'm not enjoying the things I want to enjoy right now. Activating events. Maybe it was something in the past. Maybe it was a severe trauma, car accident, sexual abuse, war zone. Okay? A lot of PTSD sufferers don't just have chronic shame and guilt. They also have chronic depression because of those rigid beliefs they hold on their lives. There's a million things. It can also be fueled by seeing a story of a celebrity who took their own life and you're like, oh my gosh, that person looks so happy. How could they do that? They have all their family. What a disgrace. You know how people can be. People are very rigid depending on where you live, your culture, about these particular actions. Here are the irrational beliefs that people hold about depression. No matter what, I must not be depressed. I absolutely hate this. I must get away from this. I can't stand feeling a loss of interest. If I feel a loss of interest for the rest of my life isn't worth living and I will never be able to enjoy anything again. Or some other variations could be, If I remain depressed, even though I'm not going to go into full detail, this could lead to me losing control and harming myself. This would be horrible because I don't want to do that. I'm not that type of person. That is the big statement. I'm not that type of person. That's a big problem. I would never do that. I'm not the type of person. There is no such thing as I'm not that type of person. If you take someone who's committed a horrendous crime at the age of 42 and they've never gotten in trouble before that, if I asked them at 25, 17 years earlier, hey, by the way, I'm from the future, you're going to commit a murder in 17 years, I would never do that. I'm not the type of person. But circumstances, genetics, biology, environment, belief systems build up together, hodgepodge, equal a pot. That pot is murder. It's the cauldron of murder. You couldn't have predicted that 17 years early. That's just the way life works. Life isn't fair, and we're not owed anything. It's a really tricky thing to get under. Okay, rational beliefs. These are the ones that I hold now. I don't like feeling, keyword feeling. I don't like feeling depressed. How frustrating, but I'm not owed anything in life. How can I try to get underneath my depression beliefs with a secondary byproduct of having my depressive feelings go away? Any video that says how to not feel depressed, how to get away from depression, already leading you in the wrong direction. The goal is not to get away from these sensations. Yes, if you work on your beliefs, if you change your behaviors, there's a secondary byproduct that will help you feel less depressed and enjoy life. Very similar to the myths surrounding people believe that motivation and inspiration precedes discipline and habits and passion. No, that's the instant gratification, motivation, and inspiration. The truest form, in my opinion, of inspiration and motivation comes from immersing yourself in an activity, taking the risk to doing the best that you can in that. We see people that could be janitors, any job, no shame in that, and they treat it the best. They show up on time. They do the hard things. They don't enjoy every day. And then that motivation of showing themselves, look, I've come to work every day for 150 days in a row. I haven't called off. Maybe you weren't working. That's where motivation and inspiration comes in. When you're looking for a feel-good feeling or to get rid of a feeling before starting an actionable step, that's where things go haywire. So, these are disputing. Why must I not be depressed? Where is the evidence that shows that depression shouldn't happen to me? Effective new philosophy. There is no reason why I must never feel depressed or be depressed, but there are several reasons why I would prefer not to be. No evidence exists that this should be given to me. A happy, joyous life of everlasting love, because that's how it feels, right? When you're in a depressive episode and mood, we think that, which also isn't true. Even when my depression was really bad, the worst, mental hospital, cops being called to my house, gained 50 pounds, didn't want to live, I still had good moments in my day. It's that black and white rigidity of I never enjoyed anything, but that's not necessarily true. Now, I want to spend the remainder of the video, because again, this is just a broad overview, talking about things that people won't do. These are bad behaviors. Okay, so bad behaviors that instill further and further depression sensations and beliefs. Okay, number one, it's probably one of the biggest one, and I'll show this at the end, is sleeping in. Sleeping in, not going to work. It's another one. Not working. Okay, and then not working is matched with isolation. The reason why I show people and write in my videos, I don't need to do this, but it's good to show you why it's important to take the effort to write it down so you can look at it. Sleeping in, not working, isolation. So no eating or, or as we all know, binging, which I really suffered with that one. I actually suffered with both, but primarily binging. It's how I ballooned up to look like this. You know, it's a great look right there. It's a really, I'm going to make that my new license photo on my driver's license. You know, no eating, binging. This is understandable. A lot of complaining. Okay. That's a big one. This is horrible. This is the worst thing ever. I did this whole mantras, right? I hate my life. I don't want to be here anymore. My life sucks. Trying to compare yourself. Okay. Comparison. Comparison has two S's, right? Yeah, sure it does. It does now. It has two S's now. So comparison, complaining, no eating, binging, not working, isolation, sleeping in. Jumping around. This is a big one. Jumping from help to help. So these are all big ones that people do. Trust me, that's not the full list, but that's a big one that people do. Okay? Now, what do you have to do Even when you're feeling depressed and feeling down, learning to go out there and live your life, getting a job if it's been a while, stop complaining, stop saying why your case is the worst. All these things I did everyone. Balance your nutrition. Trust me, you can eat cookies, fun. I know there's a lot of people out there that are telling you in order to get away from depression, no sugar, any of that. No, none of that's real. You're going to live one time. Trust me, no one says on their deathbed when they're 91, I'm so happy I didn't have any cookies, had the strictest diet. No, they go, oh, I really fucked up. And I didn't enjoy a lot of things in my life, and now my life is over. Yeah, so that's a super important thing to realize because there's so much nonsense out there about nutrition with diet and affecting your hormones and depression. And it's so easy to go down that route and you forget about the shortness of life and enjoying life. You can recover from depression drinking ranch, just ranch dressing all day. I'm not saying you're not going to shit yourself all day and you're going to have the healthiest diet, but you can recover because what matters is living your life. If you're living your life, bringing it with you, going to work, and all you're doing is drinking ranch at work, and you're changing your beliefs, you might be in the bathroom a lot, but you're going to feel a lot better, more than likely, because your beliefs are going to be changing. But if your only issue is to get away from depression, this is where things go wrong. This is missed entirely. How to get away from anxiety, how to get away from depression, how to stop feeling depressed. No, the goal is how to accept your depression and work on your belief systems. And if the depression sensations goes away, which it more than likely will, but there's no guarantee because OCD will not let you off the hook with the 0.00001% chance, that is how you break it down. So I've been there. I was depressed. I wanted to kill myself. I didn't want to live anymore. You see my stuff. I've been talking about this for years. I'm in a much better place today. It's hard to even imagine that. It's not that I couldn't ever go back there. I don't look at it like that. Oh, yeah, I'm so bulletproof. No, if I went back there, I'd hopefully have to work and go out the other way again. Phil@OCDrecovery.com. Please come in if you need help. Don't sit in silence. I sat in silence for way too long. And then when I found Rob and OCD Recovery, there was a community that was there, a community that supports you. We're all here to have fun, learn information, be strict with each other, and it was really good. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day.